Hey guys, how's it going? Today I decided to make a video, just POV style here, on how to rebuild your Porta Power. So, gonna get right into it here. First, you're gonna find a socket that fits. I believe this is called the flow valve here. Apologize if I get some terminology wrong here and there throughout the video. I do collision repair by trade, not hydraulics, but we can surely fix the tools that we need for the trade. Big reason why I decided to do this video, by the way, is I've been in so many body shops, and I swear I've seen more leaky Porta Powers than fully sealed up ones. So, come on, guys, we can do better. We can have these tools. Porta Powers are still very functional tools to use. Now, as you can see down there in that hole, there is a cap screw that is right in there. It can be kind of hard to see from that shot. So what you're going to do is just go ahead and get a hex screwdriver. This is actually just a Torx screwdriver that fit pretty well onto this hex cap head. And you're going to go ahead and loosen it as much as you can. Chances are this screw's not going to come out by itself like it normally would, because basically this screw retains the retention spring of the hydraulic piston. When we remove that hydraulic piston from the cylinder body, you'll be able to see the spring later on in the video. So what we need to do here to get that screw out is we're going to find some magnets. I just have a stack of magnets in my hardware box here, and just go ahead and remove that screw. So next what we're going to do here is there is kind of this machine retention collet, if you want to call it that. And they make specialty wrenches for this, but what I decided to do is just get a hammer punch and slowly work my way around. This is really sped up here because this takes a while, and it's important that you don't put too much pressure on this because you do not want to mark up the edges. And now, after ages of slowly hammering away with that punch, as you can see here, you can see those two little edges right there a little bit better. Once it's finally hand loosened where you can get it off the rest of the way, go ahead and remove that. And with that, as long as you remove the screw, you'll be able to go ahead and remove the piston. Now, you'll see at the end there, that's the spring that I was talking about earlier, and then there's your seal pack. So that hole in the spring right there, basically the screw that we removed earlier is what goes inside of that hole, and then there's basically a machined nut into the outer casing of the ram that we just removed there. So go ahead and just put everything in a parts tray right now. Try and get as much oil off of it as possible, just to make it a little bit easier to work with, and you'll be able to just evaluate things, see how yours is put together to get those seals removed. So now we're going to go ahead and start removing our seal, the parts that make up our seal pack here. Right here, there is going to be a snap ring. So go ahead, get your snap ring pliers, and remove that snap ring. So now with that snap ring off, you have access to remove the rest of the parts that make up the seal pack. So there's a couple different parts. There's like I don't know what material it is, but there's basically a washer underneath this seal. So you can go ahead and remove that seal. There's that little plastic washer I was talking about. And then since I just got everything loosened up, just for the simplicity of transporting everything and not mismatching seals from the hydraulic spreader, which we're about to get into how to take that apart, I decided to leave everything off, so now I can take it off with my hand at the hydraulic shop. Here's the machine collet, and you can see those two little ears right there. Again, punch that collet out very slowly. You can buy the wrenches, but in my opinion, it's not worth it if you're just going to use these once. So now, there you go. There's your first hydraulic ram taken apart to this Porta Power rebuild. Alright, if you only need to do this, you can stop the video right here. This is what you need. Everything taken apart, boxed away, ready to go to the hydraulic shop. Alright, so I'm just giving everything a quick wipe down and clean so it's not all oily and a mess. And then you can see me walking back to my toolbox here. I get a Ziploc bag, and I just go ahead and bag everything up. Alright, so with all of our parts of the standard ram taken apart, now it's time to go on to our spreader. So to get the flow valve off on the spreader, I decided to separate them. You could take off kind of this cap to where the piston is retained as kind of both the flow valve and the cap if you wanted to, but I decided not to. I wanted to separate the parts. So to do that, go ahead and get a wrench and then get your ratchet. If you just try spinning that flow valve off, in my case, it was moving the cap off to the piston as well. So go ahead, just like with the other Porta Power ram, just go ahead and remove the flow valve. Now, be careful here. You'll see in this next shot, the moment that I removed the flow valve, I immediately started dripping out oil. Didn't lose too much, though, but again, try and keep your workspace as clean as possible. So before removing this cap that you see here that I was originally kind of retaining with my adjustable wrench there so it wouldn't spin off, I just let it drip out any hydraulic oil that's left over, and then now it's time to remove it. So obviously super simple. Put it to the size needed and just go ahead and loosen it up. Now, right here, my O-ring was actually so bad that it was already split inside of it. It is important that you do not throw that O-ring away, even if it is split. It is important that you bring that to the hydraulic shop or the hardware store if you decide to get a O-ring from the hardware store. I just have my hydraulic guy spec one out for me and order it for me. But it is important that you keep that so they know what kind of O-ring to get and what size to get. Now with that cap removed, we'll spray some brake cleaner in there just to eliminate any hydraulic oil spilling out. And you can see right in there that that is your little mini piston that operates the spreader. Now, in order to remove this piston, in the next clip, we need to take apart the jaws that make up the spreader in order to gain access to punch out the piston from the top of the spreader going down. Now, with the spreader repositioned in the vise and mounted, it is time to take apart the spreader. There are going to be two snap rings on either side of this pin that retain the other arm, whatever you want to call with this spreader here. So just go ahead, remove both of your snap rings, and then it is time to punch out that pin there. My pin, it should be stupid easy, but my pin was actually a little bit bent, so I had to move my pin around, but it came out. It all worked out. And obviously, my jaws, with the way it was more grabbed onto the other side of the spreader, it automatically just fell out, so you don't want that. Thank God I had that tray kind of underneath catching that the main part to the spreader. So you don't really want that hitting the ground and damaging any threads. You're going to have to pay your hydraulic shop to remachine those threads if they get damaged. Now we're going to reposition the main body of the spreader back into the vise. and then I actually didn't listen to my own advice. I started punching it out, didn't have anything underneath to catch the piston. So again, put a tray under there or have your hand under there to catch it. And then that's the little, basically a very mini piston. It's a mini version of the other piston that we just took out. And that's your hydraulic spreader taken apart. All you have left in there is the spring, as you can see from the last shot. Remove that spring so you do not lose it. That's basically what allows the spreader arms to retract on themselves. Then you can see there, that's our seal pack. Super simple. I decided to just loosen it up with the seal puller once again. So at this point, when you followed along, everything is taken apart and it's ready to go to the hydraulic shop. Now, how I'm going about repairing these, I didn't explain this in the beginning, is when you're making this repair, when these hydraulic Porta Power rams are under pressure and they're leaking, right? They only need the seals most likely. Again, not a hydraulics expert, but right now, if you try and find kits for your Porta Power, it's probably going to be $60 to $80 for just one component of it. So you're able to save money because, number one, only part you're most likely going to need are the seals to it, right? So you're being able to save money there. And number two, you're not buying parts that you just don't need for a project like this. So when you go to find a hydraulic shop, you're going to want to try and find like a family business or like a smaller company that's willing to work with you. And when you get there, just explain to them, hey, I took these apart myself. I just need the seals because it's leaking under pressure. They're going to be able to help you. They're going to get everything measured out. And if they don't have the parts in there in person for you, they'll go ahead and get them on order. My Porta Power is a little bit older, so they actually put things on order and they kept the piston to the standard ram because they had to remachine it a little bit. Didn't cost me that much extra. Again, $40 for just the seals on everything. So if you want to order the kit, be my guest. You can still use this video on how to take everything apart. And then in the next video, I'm going to go over in detail on how to put everything back together. So thank you for coming along. This is where you're going to stop right here, get everything back into the box, backed up and organized, and go ahead on your lunch break or wherever. Go ahead and go over to the hydraulic shop.